Looking for the best quarterback rankings on YouTube, you're in the right spot. Quarterback's an important position. You start one of them. So you want to know which one to start to win your league. We're in the right spot. And Josh Allen is also in the right spot. Because we're talking about the top 25 at least. We'll probably be talking about top 30, top 35. We'll be giving you guys some best sleepers, guys to avoid, guys that will bust. And also just talking about the value. Because let's just say I put Josh Allen at number 1. He could be my number 1 quarterback, but I'm still not drafting him if he's going at the 6th spot in the first round, right? He's obviously not. But it's important to understand the value and position that you have to use to get these guys on your team. Josh Allen, QB1 for a reason. Now, technically, in 2024, this guy was the QB2 behind Lamar Jackson. Take a look. There's a 50 fantasy football point differential between the two of them. And Lamar Jackson actually had 1/3 the amount of rushing touchdowns as Josh Allen did. So you could make the case that Lamar Jackson might have more rushing touchdowns this year, which would then boost him even higher ahead of Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson had the best passing season statistically, which was fueled by a Rashad Bateman workload and a very solid touchdown season from the GOATs in the tight end room. But if we just expand this out a little bit, this Flock Fantasy comparison tool, Mason Dodd, the GOAT, happy and proud that he let us use this tool to give you boys the best fantasy football content on YouTube. But here we go. Josh Allen, he's actually QB1 from 2020 to 2024, whereas Lamar Jackson, you can see a bit more variance, a bit more deviation than what we just saw in the most recent season. So I am going to go ahead and just throw the safe dart. I'm more content taking Josh Allen. Now, yes, Lamar Jackson might be able to outduel him. Lamar Jackson is going back-to-back in my ADP. I have Josh Allen at 25 ADP, and I have Lamar Jackson at 27. So I'm fine taking these guys on the 2-3 turn. In fact, I encourage it. You know, we have a tier drop-off where after the top 20 guys go in your draft, after Ladd McConkey goes, after Brock Bowers goes in your redraft league, who do you take? You don't take JT. You know, you don't take Bucky Irving in my eyes. You don't take T. Higgins. Don't do that. There's a big tier drop-off. A bunch of guys that are kind of the same skill, in my opinion, except for one position, the elite QB. So I'm taking elite QB a lot, often, and early this year. Josh Allen's 1, Lamar Jackson is 2, and I think I made a pretty good job making my case. Now, QB3, a bit controversial. Move Jaden to the right. I have Jalen Hurts at number 3, ahead of Jaden Daniels. It's close. So I have Jalen Hurts at 31 and Jaden Daniels at 32. Jalen Hurts, just the rushing upside alone, puts him ahead in my eyes. So Jalen Hurts, look at his rushing touchdowns. He had 1 rushing touchdown per game, 14 rushing touchdowns on the year, whereas Jaden Daniels only had 6. Only 6 rushing touchdowns? That's not going to cut it here when Jalen Hurts is outperforming him by 2. Looking at the rushing yards, we have Jaden Daniels does finish with 200 more rushing yards, so that does obviously raise Jaden Daniels' floor. Now, I actually enjoy the fact, and I enjoy knowing this, that first of all, Jalen Hurts is cheaper. So getting Jalen Hurts, I've seen Jalen Hurts going round 4, round 5 in underdog best ball drafts. That's crazy. Jalen Hurts should be going right next to, if not in front of Jaden Daniels. I think he should be going in front of for the rushing touchdowns. They didn't ban the touch push, so it's looking good there. The Eagles will have to pass the ball more. People keep saying that. The Eagles will have to pass the ball more. Why? They have one of the hardest schedules in the league this year in 2025. If he has to pass the ball more, he's going to have more passing touchdowns. The only stat in the red compared to Josh Allen, compared to Lamar Jackson, compared to Jaden Daniels. Jalen Hurts was the worst in terms of passing touchdowns. So if they're passing the ball more, expecting more passing touchdowns, if they're playing from behind, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, air that baby out. Now Jalen Hurts is even better. So I love Jalen Hurts at number 3. Jaden Daniels, they're talking about the sophomore slump. I don't buy into it. If he stays healthy, which I actually believe that he was playing banged up with that rib injury in the second half of 2024, and he still looked good, so I think Jaden Daniels will be just fine this year. Again, the tough competition actually is good for fantasy in my eyes when you have a top quarterback, because he'll have to scramble for his life. He'll have to be able to air the ball out and come from behind, put up points on the board, right? So I'm fine with Jaden Daniels as well. I just like Jalen Hurts a bit more ahead of him. But anyway, those are the top 4 QBs. They're a tier drop. They're in a tier of their own. In fact, I have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts all in S tier. I have Jaden Daniels in just S tier. They're S+. Jaden Daniels, I'll put him in S tier. I think he's a tier below. That's just, we have 1 year, a 1-year sample size. Whereas I know what I'm getting with the top 3 guys. But Jaden Daniels definitely is still in S tier and goes right behind Jalen Hurts in my eyes. And then we have a tier drop-off. QB5 coming in. We all know who it is. It's Mr. Joe Cool, Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow comes into QB5. It's respectable. You got to respect the value. Like, I have an ADP drop-off. I have Joe Burrow at ADP of 43. It's really because there's no rushing upside. Like, he has no rushing upside at all. 2 rushing attempts per game, 11 rushing yards per game. Now, he has still been the QB3. He was the QB3 in 2024 because he was insane at passing the football. He had, let's see, 45 total touchdowns. Insane. Insane from Joe Burrow. Now, if you have any regression, you're cooked. But Higgins, Jamar Chase being healthy, and the worst defense in the league, this seems like a recipe to, at worst, be QB7. At worst. Now, QB7 would obviously be disappointing, but this guy's going to be airing it out as long as they all stay healthy. No guarantee on that either, which is why I'm kind of fading Joe Burrow. I haven't taken much of him at his current price because of the lack of a rushing floor. Joe Burrow is still going to be really, really good and somebody who puts up a lot of points. So that's my QB number 5. QB number 6 is Mahomes. Now, just because I have these guys ranked here doesn't mean to draft him. I've actually been passing on Mahomes a lot, unless you're in best ball and you have a stack. Mahomes is going to be better. Like, Mahomes in 2024 finishes at the QB 12. But if we look at the prior years, guys, like, expand this out to the 4-year sample prior, and he's the QB 2 in average points, man. Fantasy points ranked. Actually, that's total. It's not average. That's my bad. But I think, yeah, look at that. He's still second place. 22.1 points per game over that 4-year span prior. They're almost 300 passing yards per game in that span. A lot of touchdowns, right? So if we see Mahomes need to take that step forward, which I don't know if they will. Again, there's a chance they just rely on that good Chiefs defense, and then they're fine. But you have Rashee Rice coming back. You have Marquise Brown, who's healthy and a good downfield threat. You have 2 speedsters in Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. Maybe we get a little bit of that breadbasket deep ball. Ka-ching, that's 4 or 6 points in your pocket, depending on your format. So Mahomes at number 6 feels good. Now, if he's around 75 ADP, I'll probably take him there. But honestly, I haven't been taking him much because the next tier of guys below him, I think is kind of just as good, and they're about 15, 20 spots ADP cheaper. So coming in at number 7, I have Baker Mayfield. Now, I'm actually going to change this on the fly. I'm going to put Kyler at number 7. I'm going to put Baker at number 8. And I'm going to put Bo at number 9. Now, looking at Kyler Murray has never finished worse than QB 12. It's his worst season. So we're drafting him here at QB, what is that? What did I say? 6, 7, 8? Like, Mahomes, 6. Yeah, so we're drafting Kyler at QB number 7. And I feel like that's a pretty safe floor considering their rushing upside. 34 rushing yards per game. That ain't bad. He had barely any passing touchdowns in 2024. If that takes a step forward, if MHJ, one of the best wide receiver prospects of all time, going into year 2, who has his comp is Calvin Johnston, Megatron. If MHJ takes a step forward, that's going to be a good scenario for Kyler Murray. Trey McBride had 2 touchdowns all year long. Trey McBride scores more touchdowns than Kyler Murray's throwing them, right? So I'm big on Kyler. I've taken a lot of Kyler at QB. He's an ADP of like 90. I have him an ADP of 85 right now. I'm taking Kyler a lot in round 6, round 7. We got Baker Mayfield next. Baker Mayfield's like a Walmart version of Joe Burrow. Looking at how many touchdowns Baker came out on, threw out 41 touchdown passes. Godwin is going to be healthy. Again, that was without Godwin for half the year, 3/4 of the year, really. So Baker with Godwin healthy, with an Egbuka revamp, this team's going to be just as good. Bucky on the ground. Bucky can also be a receiving back, it seems like. And they have Rachaad White. Don't forget about that. A lot of people are. Baker's going to be just as good as he was last year, so I expect him to maintain. Baker is still going to be somebody that's a good weekly quarterback play. Then you got Bo Nix. Bo Nix, I like the rushing upside we saw. You know, he averaged 18.7, it's saying. Now, what if we sample that out? Because he started off slow, boys. So he was 18.7, then second half of the year, 21.4. QB 6 in average points per game. That ain't bad. A lot of green. Rushing maybe came down a little bit with only 17 rushing yards a game. Honestly, I don't care. I'll be taking that 21 bomb from a rookie quarterback all day, every day, going into year 2. Do they really add anybody? I mean, you add Evan Ingram, that could be good for the red zone. So Evan Ingram comes in. I'm actually a big fan of that. So that's what, QB 3, 6. That's our 9. That's our 9th quarterback off the board. And number 10 is Justin Fields. If you don't get any of the names that we just mentioned, you know, really the only one I'm fading is kind of Mahomes at current price. I feel like Mahomes should kind of slide back to like 75 in ADP or maybe 80. But that's just me. Fields, if you don't get any of these guys as like one of your quarterback options, I think you're cooked. Now, Fields in 2021, I want to say. Let's take a look. 2021, 35 rushing yards. It definitely wasn't 2021. Don't look at that. Let's take a look at 2022. And there it is. 76 rushing yards per game on average. That is unbelievable. That is broken, and that is how you win fantasy football. Getting Justin Fields at a discount, his ADP is like 120, something like that. He's been rising, though, I've been noticing. I have Justin Fields at an ADP of 94. I am taking him as my quarterback if any of these guys are not available. You need the upside Justin Fields brings. Now, you're obviously not going single quarterback. Like, if you get one of these previous guys, you're probably fine with them being your QB1, you're sold. Justin Fields, you are going to want to have somebody else just in case the matchup's bad or in case Justin Fields busts, and you can honestly cut him in that case, potentially, if he's not looking good on the Jets. But Justin Fields has the upside to be a top 5, top 6 quarterback, depending on how involved he is in the run game with the Jets, how much they script it, and his passing volume. Now, Las Vegas has his over-under passing yards is 2,500. Pretty bad. 14 passing touchdowns, really bad, but the ground game should be good. Number 11 is Drake May, followed by Brock Purdy. Both of these guys look poised for good seasons. I like the value you're getting on Drake May, so I'm going to be taking Drake May in a lot of drafts if his value doesn't change. He might look like a bum until you look at the second half of the year when it goes from 13.6 points per game to 13.7. He's trash. But the 34 rushing yards per game, I guess maybe that's where it comes all together. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I was expecting Drake May to be, for the hype that Drake May is getting, I was expecting him to be a bit better towards the second half of the year. Seems like maybe he actually got worse. But he did show the rushing upside at 30-plus yards per game. If he improves into year 2, then Drake May could smash his current ADP. You have Brock Purdy coming in at number 12. Christian McCaffrey healthy. Equals points. Equals points. It's just as simple as that. CMC is going to get involved in this passing game, and Brock Purdy is going to take a step forward. Brock Purdy had no supporting cast in 2024, and he was still the QB 10. Not too shabby for Mr. Irrelevant. I got Justin Herbert coming in at number 13, followed by Caleb Williams. You got Trey Harris added on. The big Q had 8 touchdowns. I feel like he has downfield threats and a safety blanket now in Mr. McConkey. I actually hope they get some tight ends involved as well. You have Will Disley, you have Conklin. They're both kind of trash. I hope that Gadsden can, kind of acclimate to the NFL real quick. That's Rondé Gadsden II, for those of you that don't know. I got Caleb Williams next. Now, Caleb Williams is somebody I'm passing on a lot. Like, if I miss out on all the quarterbacks prior, first off, you choked. You're sold. You're sold. But Caleb Williams does bring the upside of the rushing. 29 rushing yards per game on average. Fantasy points per game was only 15 because he was trashed at passing the football. Like, we saw him look bad, like real bad passing the football, which is a scary sight. Now, he has the best supporting cast you'll ever see. DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Roma Dunze year 2, Colston Loveland, DeAndre Swift. I mean, go on and on. Better offensive line. Blah, blah, blah. Rushing upside, if he improves at all passing the football, Caleb Williams can average like 19 points per game. That's kind of the ceiling, though, unless he gets insane rushing the football. But I do think Caleb Williams is poised to get better. So I don't mind him, but I feel like people are kind of hyping him up a bit too much. Now, I think we're at number 15. Honestly, I'm losing track right here, but we're going to keep going like nothing happened. I got Jordan Love coming up next. Jordan Love, he's healthy. I mean, QB 17, I feel like he wasn't healthy at all in 2024. Bad luck. Matthew Golden now has stretched the fields. It's similar to the Bears situation where a lot of people there. Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, no alpha wide receiver, whereas DJ Moore is an alpha in my eyes. And I think Tucker Kraft's poised for a good year. I feel like Jordan Love and the receiving core there, a lot of competition doesn't necessarily mean a lot of talent. There's no alpha. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So that's a little bit annoying. Jordan Love doesn't bring any rushing upside either. You're really just hoping for him to be able to get this Packers offense into the red zone through the air, right? So that's what you're taking with Jordan Love. But I do think he's all right. I'm not taking him. I guess not. I almost just died. I'm not taking him in many of my drafts just because of the lack of rushing upside. Fantasy football has really become something like that where you need fantasy rushing upside to be viable at quarterback. CJ Stroud is up next. Stroud, insanely bad 2024. One of the most disappointing players. 2023, he was QB 9. 2022, was he even in the league? He wasn't even in the league. So his second year, give him a break. He was QB 9 rookie year. 2024 comes out, sophomore slump. That's why people are saying Jaden Daniels is going to suck. But if Stroud can get back to what he was, they invest heavily in some extra wide receivers for him. Maybe you say that Woody Marks comes in and has a receiving role in the backfield. I don't know, man. But CJ Stroud, he's currently being priced as the QB 19, and we saw him as QB 9 as a rookie. Not much rushing upside, but there's a lot of passing upside. And if Nico Collins stays healthy, I think CJ Stroud could also be pretty solid. Jared Goff is up next. I have him at ADP of 124. So you can see I'm kind of incentivizing getting a good quarterback on your team, but I don't think any of these guys are good for fantasy football. They're not going to be league winning. These are the guys where now I feel like you're playing the matchup. Goff finishes QB7 though. A lot of passing touchdowns. Ben Johnson leaves. What's that going to do to the Lions' passing attack? I mean, either way, you know the Lions are going to be putting up points. You know the Lions are going to be good. So Goff should be good. It's just a lack of rushing upside, which scares me. Then you got Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, people don't know. If we go ahead and just do 2021, hold on. Let's try this again. 2022 to 2015. Or we'll just do a couple seasons in between. Dak Prescott has been very volatile. He's been up, down, up, down. He's had QB3 finishes, QB7 finishes. Average in that range was QB8, 19.7 points per game. It's kind of like a long-term span of being Jared Goff from last year. 19.7 points per game, you'll take that. It's not going to be game-changing. It might not win you your week, but he does now have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. They didn't really invest in running back, so they have to pass the ball. As long as Dak is healthy, Dak Prescott does have a pretty decent ceiling as like a QB7 finisher. I mean, obviously we've seen him in the top 3, but now that we have more elite quarterbacks in the league, I don't see that happening. So Prescott definitely can get the football into the red zone multiple times a game, 2-3 times. You really need it to be 3 times for him to crush and win you your fantasy leagues. I think it can happen, and at the value we're getting him at, I think it is something that's worth it. We got J.J. McCarthy coming up next. J.J. McCarthy followed by Michael Penix. I think McCarthy brings a bit more of a rushing potential, and I also like the coaching situation way more in Minnesota. And did I mention Justin Jefferson is definitely better than Drake London, although Drake London and Mooney is still a pretty solid receiving core for the young man of Mr. Penix. I have these guys back to back. Continuing on, I have Tua Tagovailoa, followed by none other than Mr. AR, what is his name, 13, AR 15? The trash can. Anthony Richardson. Sadly, Anthony Richardson, it's not looking good. I'm going to be honest, it's not looking great. It doesn't really matter when he can rush for 45 yards a game. Now, passing, everything is neon red, dark red, whatever you want to call it. It's bad. Obviously, sure, the rushing upside's there, but he was worse than Justin Fields. 15 points per game. I mean, that is pathetic. Now, we did see his passing be a little bit better in 2023, 18 PPR points per game. So I feel like Anthony Richardson is somebody where if he puts it together magically in year 3, sure, he could be good. He's got a good receiving core. Pittman's off the back fracture, which is crazy. So, I mean, Richardson, I think he could return value. Tua, I'm not a huge fan of. Health reasons and also no rushing upside. But AR is really this high because of the rushing value. I then have Bryce Young, Matt Stafford, Trevor Lawrence. Really, these guys, it's like... It's nothing crazy. I think Stafford could have returned some value because Stafford is just one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The Rams are going to be competitive. And they have Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, I feel like, is just going to improve this passing touchdown rate for the offense as a whole. You have Puka. You have Devontae. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion, Matt Stafford. Now, just because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, talent-wise, doesn't mean he's good for fantasy, which is why he's ranked as QB22 in this. But I do think Stafford can actually have some fantasy viability, but it's been a while since we've seen that from him. After Stafford, after Trevor Lawrence, which Trevor Lawrence is interesting because how do we have BTJ going in the round 1, round 2? And then you have Travis Hunter going in round 4. So you're telling me the 2 receivers are top 4 round picks, but Trevor Lawrence is ranked as like QB 30? Like, you feel like Trevor Lawrence has to crush. Now, what has Trevor Lawrence done for me in the past? 2023, let's take a look. 16 points per game. That's a bust. 2022, 17. So he's gotten worse. The highest we've ever seen him average over a season was 17 points per game, 11. That is disgusting. So Trevor Lawrence, I feel like the ceiling is not very high, but it's the highest chance that he'll have to be fantasy relevant up to this point through his career. But with that in mind, I don't really know. Wrapping up the last couple of quarterbacks, this is what I have ranked. I have Geno Smith. He's paired with Brock Bowers. Good offense. We saw Geno Smith be decent last year. That's why Geno is this high. I have him an ADP of 166. I have Cam Ward following him up about 2 spots past him in ADP. I think Calvin Ridley's going to help him air the ball deep. I think Calvin Ridley's going to have a good season. Then I have Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold I actually really like. In fact, I could bump Sam Darnold all the way up like 8 spots in this ranking, and I wouldn't even mind it. He was QB9. Like, we've seen it. Like, what have the other people shown us in terms of ceiling? Sam Darnold showed us a ceiling last year. 18 points per game, QB9. New situation, Cooper Kupp. What if Cooper Kupp's good? And then you have JSN, year 3. What if JSN has another step forward like he did from year 1 to year 2? I think Sam Darnold could return a lot of value considering he's one of the last quarterbacks off the board. I think he's kind of worth a flyer. I'm not going to lie. Continuing on, we have Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. I have these guys ranked over Russell Wilson, even though Russell Wilson's solid, just because of the rushing upside that Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe specifically bring. You got Joe Flacco ranked down there, Daniel Jones, Rodgers, and then they're all these guys afterwards are kind of fantasy irrelevant. So I think we got like 30, 35 names in, but that is the quarterback ranking and tiers that you all wanted to see. Then we've done every single position now. Kicker or defense, we're not doing that. I mean, we can if you want, but smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.